Welcome to Chapter 4 Overview. Chapter 4 Business Challenges within the 7 Domains of IT Responsibility. Let's look at the learning objectives and key concepts for Chapter 4. Learning objective: analyze how security policies help to mitigate risk and support business processes in various domains of IT responsibility. The key concepts include identifying risk within the 7 domains of a typical IT infrastructure, common security controls for each domain, and using security policies to mitigate risk within the 7 domains. The 7 domains of a typical information technology infrastructure, page 1. Many ways to group security policies. Common method is to group common risk and related policy issues in 2 domains, and domains share similarities but are not distinctive enough to allow logical separation into more manageable security areas. Advantage of this method is that each domain typically focuses on a different target audience. Let's use figure 4.1, the 7 domains of typical IT infrastructure, to break down the elements of these 7 domains. If you look at user domain, this is the domain that refers to any user accessing information. This includes customers, employees, consultants, contractors, or any other third party. These users are end users. Workstation. This domain refers to any endpoint device used by the end users. This can mean any smart device in the end user's physical possession. For the purpose of this chapter, it's any device accessed by the end user, such as a smartphone, laptop, workstation, or mobile device. Then let's look at the LAN domain, local area network. This domain refers to the organization's local area network infrastructure. A LAN connects 2 or more computers within a small area. The small area could be a home office, a home or an office, or a group of buildings. Then after the LAN domain includes the servers, the hubs, the routers, those kinds of things. And moving into the LAN and the WAN domain, the WAN, the wide area network, a wide area network covers a large geographical area. The internet is an example of WAN. A private WAN can be built for a specific company to link offices across a wide geographical area, or even a country, or even globally. Let's look at the 7 domains of a typical IT infrastructure, page 2. First, you have the user domain. This domain refers to any user assessing information. This includes customers, employees, consultants, contractors, or any other third party. These users are end users. Workstation is the next domain. This domain refers to any endpoint device used by end users. This can mean any smart device in the end user's physical possession. For the purposes of this chapter, it's any device accessed by the end user, such as a smartphone, laptop, workstation, or mobile device. Then you have the local area network domain, or the LAN domain. This domain refers to the organization's local area network infrastructure. A LAN connects 2 or more computers within a small area. The small area could be a home, office, or group of buildings. Then we move to the WAN. The WAN is a wide area network domain. A wide area network covers a large geographical area, like a county or a state or city. The internet is an example of a WAN. A private WAN can be built for a specific company to link to offices across the country or even globally. Many businesses use the internet for communicating between offices and regions. The internet has become so inexpensive and reliable that it is often the first choice of businesses. Communications are typically secured through the use of encryption. Then you have the LAN/WAN domain that moves into the WAN domain. Okay, so the WAN domain, this domain refers to the technical infrastructure that connects the organization's LAN to the WAN, local area network, to a wide area network. This allows end users to access the internet communications flow in both directions in the LAN to WAN domain. And then lastly, you have the remote access. Remote access, this domain refers to the technologies that control how end users connect to an organization's LAN. A typical example of remote access is someone connecting to the office network from a home computer. End users can use a WAN to access a LAN. For example, an end user could use the internet to create a private and secure session to connect with the office through a virtual private network, VPN, connection. System and application. This domain refers to the technologies needed to collect, process, and store information. The system/application domain includes hardware and software requirements. By examining each of these logical segments, these requirements provide constraints upon end users and ultimately determine how security controls are designed. User domain refers to any end user accessing information in any form. It also includes how end users handle physical information, such as printed reports. It includes end user awareness of policies and on-the-job training. Formal education programs are no substitute for experience gained from an on-the-job training. Onboarding refers to new employee training. Authentication and authorization are important in the user domain. Popular authorization method is role-based access control, or RBAC. Attribute-based access control, ABAC, relies on specific attributes associated with the login. Figure 4-2, role-based access control concept, just gives you a visual of how things interact. User domain key policies. An end user must be familiar with several key policies before assessing company information. Some of the more important policies you should include in is an awareness training program to include, first, an acceptable use policy. An acceptable use policy, or AUP, establishes a broad set of rules for acceptable conduct when a user accesses information on company-owned devices. For example, this policy may set rules on what type of website browsing is permitted, or if personal emails over the internet are allowed. Next is email policy. An email policy discusses what's acceptable when using the company email system. The policy is much more specific than the broad statements found in an AUP policy. Privacy policy. A privacy policy addresses the importance the organization places on protecting privacy. It also discusses the regulatory landscape and government mandates. This policy discusses how to handle customer data as well as individual obligation to protect the information. Next is system access policy. This includes rules of conduct for system access. This policy covers end user credentials like IDs and passwords. The policy may also be specific to the business or application. Physical security and clean desk policy. The physical security and clean desk policy outlines conduct in the workforce or the workplace. It typically covers the expectation that employees will lock up sensitive information before going home at the end of the workday. This is what the term clean desk refers to. Then we move on to corporate mobility policy. An organization's corporate mobility policy sets expectations on the use and security of mobile devices. This policy could also set requirements on using personal devices to access community systems. For example, there is a growing trend of allowing personal smartphones to access company email systems. This reduces cost because the company does not have to issue phones. But it also creates new risk because companies have less control over devices they do not own. And lastly, social networking policy. The social networking policy has emerged as a type of code of conduct. With the rise of social media, many businesses are concerned about employees posting information about the company on these sites. This policy provides guidance to employees. For many organizations, posting any information about the business beyond the employee's name and title is strictly forbidden. Workstation domain. This includes any computing devices used by end users. So your smartphone, your laptop, your tablet, anything that any device that the end users actually use to conduct business. In the context of the 7 domains of an IT infrastructure, workstation can be any end user device that accesses information such as a laptop or a mobile device. And in the early days, if somebody said workstation, that was just a dumb terminal to access the mainframe. But that's not what they're talking about here. Usually when an end user seeks to assess information, he or she authenticates in the user domain. Once he or she is known, the end user is often authorized to the workstation itself. Each workstation has an identity, much like an end user. Workstation domain, central management system. Regardless of the management software used, different brands all generally share many of the same capabilities. The key functionalities to look for are these. First is inventory management. An inventory management system tracks devices as they connect to the LAN. This builds an inventory of which devices are on the network and how often they connect to the LAN. Information inventories are useful for investigating security incidents and ensuring regulatory compliance. Secondly, discovery management. A discovery management system detects software that is installed on a device. It can also detect information on a workstation. This is highly specialized software that is not routinely used. Next is patch management. This system ensures that current patches are installed on devices. It's important to apply security patches in a timely manner to address known vulnerabilities. Help desk management. This system provides support to end users through a help desk. Help desk technicians may remotely access a device to diagnose problems, reconfigure software, and reset IDs. Log management. This system extracts logs from a device. Typically, log management software moves logs to a central repository. Typically, the volume of logs is so large that it takes special software to automatically search and highlight potential risk. Administrators scan these logs to find security weaknesses or patterns of problems. Then security management. This system manages workstation security. This may include ensuring end users have limited rights and that new local administrator accounts are not present. The unexpected addition of local administrator accounts may be an indication that a security breach has occurred. Workstation domain, common approaches to personally owned devices. Bring your own device, BYOD. Users bring their own device to work and connect to the network. Companies are starting to really accept that because it saves them money. Anytime you want to know something's going on, follow the money. Next is sometimes this is augmented with specific security requirements and network access control NAC. That's an attempt to make sure that the personal devices are not infecting the company system. Next is choose your own device, CYOD. Users purchase a device from an approved list can connect to the network. And company-owned and provided equipment, COPE, has the advantage of allowing greater control over security, but that's expensive, and a lot of companies are getting away from that. Page 1 of 2 on LAN, Local Area Network Domain. This encompasses equipment that makes up the local area network. The LAN typically has network devices that connect to local office or buildings. The LAN can be either simple or complex. There's common network devices found on LAN: a switch, a router, a firewall. Under switch you have direct traffic. Under router you have this connects LANs or LAN and a WAN. And the firewall filters your traffic. For example, Microsoft software is very vulnerable, so companies will have a firewall where the internet comes in to protect their users. Okay. Page 2 of LAN domain. General types of LANs. Flat network has few controls or none to limit network traffic. Workstation connected to flat network can communicate with any other computer on the network. Segmented network limits what computers can say to each other and how they are able to talk to each other. They can restrict network traffic by using switches, routers, internal firewalls, and other devices. LAN to WAN domain. Bridge between a LAN and a WAN. WANs can connect offices across the country or globally. Routers and firewalls connect a LAN and a WAN. To segment part of a LAN into a demilitarized zone, so to speak, as buffer zone between LAN and WAN. It sits on the outside of the private network facing the public internet. Servers in the DMZ provide public-facing access to the organization, such as public websites. Figure 4.4-3, basic LAN to WAN network layers. This gives you a visual look at the different layers. So just take a minute or so to look at that to put it in perspective. WAN domain, wide area network domain. WAN domain is typically the internet. Challenge for companies using the internet to connect offices is how to keep communications secure and private. Common solution is a virtual private network, or VPN. Lower communication cost using VPN tunnels instead of leasing private lines for WANs. Cloud computing has emerged as a major technology. Think of cloud computing as a way of buying software, infrastructure, and platform services on someone else's network. You rent capability when you need it and stop paying when you are done. Access to cloud computing is typically through a WAN, i.e., the internet. Remote access domain. Like an enhanced user domain, but communication is traveling from a public unsecure network into the private secure company network. It's risky. Same issues as the user domain, plus remote authorization and network connectivity issues. To be successful, you need a two-factor authentication for remote access. A lot of you have that on your company email. And when you make your two-factor authorization, it needs to be something you know, ID and password combination, something you have, a token, a fob, an authenticator app, and then something you are, like biometric features such as a fingerprint scan, sometimes an iris scan from your eye, or DNA in some situations in high access DoD, Department of Defense type things. This is a visual representation of the basic types of VPN connectivity. You know, a challenge for companies using the internet to connect offices is how to keep communication secure and private. A common solution is a VPN, a virtual private network. By setting up network devices at both offices, you can create an encrypted tunnel through the internet. System application domain. As complex as networks are, they essentially secure communications between an end user and some application software. What collects, processes, and stores data is ultimately software. Business software is typically an application. System software, such as a server operating system, runs business applications. The system application domain refers to all the system and application software related issues. Business software that end user, including customer, touches an application. This includes email, word processing, and spreadsheet software. The operating system and software that allow a computer to communicate over a network or system software. Information security business challenges and security policies that mitigate risk within the 7 domains of user domain, workstation domain, LAN domain, LAN to WAN domain, the WAN domain, the remote access domain, and the system application domain. User domain, the challenges. Humans are not always predictable and consistent. Okay? When you're a leader and a manager, you know that 80% of your problems are going to come from people. That's just the way humans are. They're unpredictable. Any process that relies on humans must reinforce good behavior and verify results often. Reinforcement of education, monitoring, and adjusting behaviors is a never-ending cycle in implementing security policies. Security policies require awareness training, enforcement, segregation of duties, reward for compliance, and monitoring. Workstation domain, the challenge, workstation breach results in malicious software compromising the network. Security policies require patching and antivirus, regulatory compliance, consistently applied security configuration rules, limited access to workstations to reduce risk of malware, and require encryption of data. LAN domain. The challenges are LANs carry voice over IP, video, traditional computer traffic. Organizations expect LAN to be always available and have capacity. Bandwidth decreases with voice over IP, video, and social media feeds. The security policies required include limited use of live video, limited use of music feeds, and social media sites. LAN to WAN domain challenges. Protection of servers in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone. They are websites that, for many organizations, represent their public image and or major sales challenge. Security policies require strict rules on how DMZ traffic should be limited and monitored, DMZ server configuration and security patches, and external penetration testing. The WAN domain. The challenges involved are reliability of a VPN, or virtual private network, depends on the ISP. Reliability issues can occur even if the ISP guarantees a level of service while you're traveling over a public network. Not an unlimited resource. Many internet service providers have limited bandwidth. Security policies require specific configuration and protection of connection type, defined roles and responsibilities, how to deal with WAN vendor, validation of security configuration. Remote access domain challenges. Speed and reliability of mobile devices and broadband depends on location and carrier. Your security demands, the security demands on business requirements. Who owns the device? Who has a right to wipe the device if it's lost or stolen? How do you encrypt data on the device? How do you apply patches? And then the security policies required are risk assessments, a focus on broader capabilities of devices, and network access controller, NAC. System application domain. The challenge is data leakage. The security policies requirements, data loss protection, or DLP, or data leak protection, DLP program. DLP program provides several layers of defense: inventory, perimeter, and device management. In summary, identifying risk within the 7 domains of typical IT infrastructure is critical to your organizational success. Common security controls for each domain have to be in place. Using security policies to mitigate risk within the 7 domains, again, this is a crucial element of your security. Thank you.